We've got Bret Baier on the phone, but just to preview Bret, let's have a little memory of Charles here on the panel at Special Report.
I found him hinged.
Hinged. That's right. You often don't hear hinged.
No, you don't hear hinged. But it was stream of consciousness. I mean, it was a performance unlike any other. You think of the JFK press conferences or Reagan or others. This is a performance art. It's not. I must say, of course, the high point was when he mentioned me. I thought I was going to be the surprise new national security advisor, so I was somewhat
I think it's still
disappointed. Well, I've got to weigh it because, I'll miss you, Bret.
Charles Krauthammer and his memories of the campaign. Bret Baier is on the phone with us now, and Bret, the obituary that we aired a short time ago that you put together from that amazing one-hour documentary with Charles was just so heartfelt. We did, as Charles Lane said, know that this was coming, but it's still a shock to all of us.
It really is. John, thanks for being at the helm. I'm sorry I'm not there, and I agree with Charles Lane. I think that seat should be retired. Listen, we knew it was coming. I've been in contact with his son Daniel and his wife Robin all throughout, and this was a really tough time. Charles, fortunately, saw the outpouring of support and love and appreciation of his life's work when he wrote that really eloquent letter at the end of just a couple of weeks ago. And it's really sad that we've lost this voice in our national dialogue. But know that his voice is going to live on Special Reports. We're going to, if there's a topic that he talked about, we're going to pull the sound button, and we're going to play it. His words and his knowledge and his eloquence on the issues of the day were unsurpassed. And we have a new hour documentary, a new In His Words hour that we're going to air that I think will really touch your heart and tell you and show you what an amazing man Charles was. I really miss him. And I know that his legacy is going to live on, not just here, but a lot of places.
For the folks at home, we should mention that special will air tomorrow night, 9 p.m. here on the Fox News channel. Bret, everybody talks about who Charles Krauthammer was as a writer, commentator, and opinion maker. Tell us what you know, because you spent more time with him probably than anybody here at Fox News, about Charles Krauthammer, the person.
Some people, Sean Shannon just mentioned it, he had an amazing sense of humor. And at the commercial breaks would crack us all up. His dry humor, you heard it in one-liners. We're going to string together a bunch of them for a kicker here, maybe tomorrow. But he also had just an appreciation of people and what they were going through. He was one of the first people who reached out to me when my son had open heart surgery. And after that, every single time he had some medical issue, Charles was the first one to check in. He wanted to see how Paul was. He wanted the specific diagnosis, wanted what exactly the doctors were saying. And as a doctor himself, he would weigh in, and he would also weigh in to tell me to hang in there. And if anybody could hang in there in his life, it was Charles Krauthammer, who lived his life, despite that accident, like it never happened. And he was an amazing man.
That to me was one of the most extraordinary things about him. I didn't actually know much about Charles until I came here to Fox News, but I had seen him nightly on Special Report, and I had no idea until I met him that he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, some people just didn't know. Sean Hannity didn't know. And he talks about that in this special. And listen, that wasn't a part of that. Wasn't who Charles was. Who Charles was his thoughts, his knowledge, his wisdom, and most importantly, his interaction with people. He loved being on the panel, and he loved the interaction and mixing it up. And he would always kind of hold the ball. At the end of a panel segment, when I come to the end of the time, I put my arm out, it's 30 seconds. Charles was a big offender of the 30-second rule, but he would hold the ball till the end, and Steve Hayes would get frustrated. So one time he decided to hold the ball till the end of the time, and he held it all the way to the commercial break. And I said, "Thanks so much. Coming up next." And we went to commercial, and turned to Steve and said, "You learned from the master."
I'll tell you a little secret, Bret. That the times that I was filling in for you here, and Charles would be here, he would tell me that you would hold out your hand, and as he was taking it down through the countdown toward the commercial break, knowing that you had what's called a hard out, he told me you could see Bret's knuckles getting whiter and whiter as he was clenching his hand tighter and tighter.
Oh, he was an egregious offender.
Yeah.
I mean, we wanted to make respect the arm T-shirts and mugs, but we didn't.
Right.
The thing about Charles is that he could cut through all the noise, all the back and forth on Washington every day, especially in today's environment. And he could cut through in this piercing way that everybody just said, "Wow, I agree with that." Or, "I don't agree with it, but I understand it."
Mm-hmm.
He just cut through the noise.
What's the thing personally, Bret, that you remember most about him?
Well, I think personally his outreach to me during my kind of darkest hours, and the brave way that he went into death. He didn't know it was coming until recently. Just before that letter that he released to everybody, he sent me an email. It was an email that really took my breath away, and said that the cancer had overtaken him, and his fight was over. Before that, we were actually preparing to have him come back on the panel, and I said Fox was ready to roll the satellite truck to the hospital, and the second that he could get back on, we'd get him on. And he was looking forward to that. But then, the cancer came back in a really aggressive state, and the way he handled death, I think, is an example to a lot of people. He handled it with class and eloquence that he really was.
He was away for so long, and he had kept very quiet about his illness. There were so many of us at Fox that didn't even know that he had surgery for cancer. But I remember it looking good earlier this year, Bret, that he looked like he was going to recover, even though he came very close to death a couple of times after the surgery. And it was such a shocking turnaround to hear from him that he only had weeks to live. It was just so shocking and saddening to all of us here.
Yeah, and all those updates, I was trying to be judicious with all the things that I was saying, but they were coming directly from him. Mm-hmm. And I was getting the go-ahead to say what I said on air from Charles. So that last update before the letter was very positive, and we were very hopeful. So it's a sad day. I really pray and feel for Daniel and Robin, and just know that Charles Krauthammer's legacy is protected here.